Hello. Today I'm going to be running through some code for extracting data from financial statements. This can be pretty complicated and actually kind of impossible the way I'm doing it, but it will show, basically how it can be done. But there are a lot of issues with what I'm doing, and the big issue is that I use XBRL. And XBRL is great, but it's not scalable. And the reason it's not scalable is companies are really ineffective in the way they tag the financial statements. And as a result, it becomes really hard to get a decent amount of data that's comparable and can actually be used in some form of context, such as machine learning, for example. Anyways, it doesn't mean that we can't have a little bit of fun programming a program that does something like this. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to create a class. So I'm going to create maybe a fetch data class. And what this is going to do is basically just fetch the data. It's not extremely complicated. And when we initialize it, we are going to require that a ticker is given, right? This makes sense. So an example would be you have a ticker and you create fetch data, and then you say, I want Spotify, I want Apple, I want Microsoft, something like that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the company identifier key. So I think the SEC uses the central index key, so you can see here. So company identifier key, central index key, whatever, who cares? It doesn't really matter what you call it, but this is what the SEC calls it. It does the same thing, basically. And what we're going to be doing with the get SEC key is we're going to have a look through this huge JSON file. So I actually show that JSON file now. wsec.gov, files, company, tickers, JSON. And this is going to actually give us the central index key. And I'm pretty sure this JSON list is actually listed by market cap. Microsoft is not the biggest. Is Microsoft the biggest company at the moment? Yeah, so it is listed by market cap. Okay, so in here we're gonna have Microsoft, and then you can see the ticker is Microsoft, and then the central index key is 789019. We're gonna want to pull this central index key. We're gonna have to make some data cleansing adjustments to that, and I'll go through that in a second. But we're going to want to find and iterate through basically every single stock in this huge JSON file. Like, this is huge. This is every public company, I guess. You would think every American public company that is actually in the SEC. It doesn't need to be American. It just needs to be traded in America, I'm assuming. So we can, with this, we can have a list. It doesn't need to be a list. It could be a dictionary. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to append a SIC to this list, basically. And the SEC, when you access their data, requires that you submit a user agent. So basically what you tell it is, I'm human, functionally, and who am I, basically. You're identifying who you are. So when I identify myself, I'm just going to say, Raina, I'm William Carey. Everyone knows my name. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Oh, I guess I could do my email at gmail.com. And what we're going to do is we're going to get this data. So I guess I'll need to import requests. So I do need to import requests. I also need to import pandas, which we'll use later when we create a data frame. Request.get, and we are going to want the URL. So I'm going to just copy and paste this URL. And then the header headers is going to equal the header, and then timeout. So maybe there'll be an issue actually getting the data. So we'll just put it as a timeout, and then we're going to want it as a JSON file. So what this is effectively going to do is we can do a print get, and I'll actually show you what's going on here. Yeah, we can just run that, and it's going to print this huge JSON file, as you'll see. See, there's this huge JSON file that's been printed, and now we're going to want to iterate through that. So we can do like a for data in for data get, and we're going to want to find the company or the central index key through this. So I guess this is an error. We'll do values, and from here we can actually create the ticker, or we'll set the self ticker equals stock ticker. This will actually help with the indexing through the dictionary, and I actually messed up. I think, yeah, so what we're going to have to do first is actually determine that it is actually what we want. So if stock ticker equals self dot ticker, then I should have called it stock, yes. Okay, so once we've done that, once we've done that, we're going to have to fill it. So we can see that you have stock, sick, and then we're going to do a z-fill on it. So the reason we're going to do a z-fill on it is, although, you know, some six may be, what is this? This is 7. This is 7 letters, or 7 digits. SEC requires that we have 10. And this is just how it is. So that's why I need to run that function, basically. So I think we can return the sick. We can do return none. And that should just give us the sick. I mean, I actually don't even think we needed this row. Now that I think about it, we can just do it like this. And in theory, you actually don't need this, but I'll keep it here because I may ticker. Oh yeah, all right. It's because let's just call it stock. Okay, so now after we've gotten the SEC key, we're going to need the SEC URL. SEC URL, and this is going to fetch the company facts. So we can just self dot get SEC key. Okay. So once we've gotten the SEC key, we can actually go and input it into the URL. So the URL, I'm gonna just copy it over, is https data sec.gov API XPRL company facts seek, and then yes, okay, and then as a JSON file, and then we're just going to return the URL. So I'll show you. So I have this company Borealis Foods that I actually applied this program to, and I know their sick is this. Well, you can see this is 7 digits because we want it to be 10 digits. You know, 10 minus 7 is 3, so we're going to have 3 zeros in the front of this. We can actually predict what this is going to be. This URL is going to be. So the URL is just going to go where the sick is going. And this is effectively pulling. Yeah, that's right. This is effectively pulling the company facts of that company. Right, so you can see this is for Borealis Foods, right? Borealis Foods, you know, if you had not done the fill, I don't think it would have worked. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist, it just doesn't exist in the way this API, or the way they've set the API to be set up. So after we've gotten the SEC URL, we're going to want to get the raw data. And getting the raw data is actually not that bad. So let me think. When you get the raw data, we're going to need a header again. We are going to we're going to get a response request.get self.get sec URL, and I don't think it needs to be a JSON file. Then we can get a response or response raised for status in case there's any errors, and then we can just return the raw JSON file. This is kind of a bit, a little bit unnecessary, but at least it does, keep some mess out of the code instead of creating one huge function. And it kind of shows actually what's happening. So we can now, get something. So we can, I've set it up to we can get cash, but, we can actually go to the, so let's look up, I'll show you how this works. So Borealis Foods, 10K XBRL, most 10Ks these days have an in the XBRL format. This is, when you're processing inline facts, it will actually show you. So this is all this stuff you can actually pull through. So let's look up current assets. So for example, they're calling this cash, which is shockingly uncommon. Apple, for example, I do not believe calls their cash. I can show you that here. For 10K, I think for some reason, it must have been a while ago. Yeah, 6 years ago. This seems recent. But I don't think Edgar. Quarterly report, that will definitely have it. It would load it. Yeah, here we go. Alright, the cash and cash equivalents at carrying value. That's not called cash. So these different names matter, and this is the reason that the program that I'm writing is pretty unscalable. You can do some interesting data scraping with it, but it's hardly a way that you can do any form of automation to do machine learning or any form of AI. The data is pretty inconsistent. So what we could do is we could get, let's say, total assets. So this is the tag. Let's just keep the tag. It's just called assets. It's not crazy, but so we'll create a data frame and we'll just create rows. So we're going to basically append a bunch of data to this data frame rows and then actually create the data frame then. So we'll have a raw data, SEC raw data, and then keys. And then I'm going to show you how this dictionary or this JSON's actually set up. So get list cache. Okay. This should print all the different paths through this. I don't know why it would have had an issue doing that. Get stock as sick. There must have been an issue earlier. Sock sick. Self ticker. If stock ticker equals self ticker. That's weird. String stock sig. It's not called sig, it's called sig string. That's right. That should work now. And this will show us. I've printed this also, I don't want to print that. let's just print the different pathways we can go through. Okay, so we can go through SIC, entity name, and facts. We want facts. That's actually the financial statement data stuff that we want. So we go through facts, and then we can go through keys, and we can see what we actually want to go through. It's going to say US GAAP. Spotify, for example, which is not a US company, has IFRS instead, and instead you would iterate through IFRS full. Or you would go through IFRS full. Now we're going to have cash, we can have assets actually instead. So we'll go through assets, and then after this I think it's just units and USD. This is just the way to actually get to the data. You can see here, the USD is capitalized, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so this is all the asset data. This is Microsoft, for example. Right, and we're going to have to build a program from here that pulls, the values. Obviously, we want the values. Fiscal year, probably want that too. Form type, yes, because they're amendments, right? See, this is an amendment. We're going to want to take off the amendment so we're not double counting. If you have the original filing, and then you have the amendment, now you have two filings in your data, and that's pretty problematic. So we can kind of fix that through this. So we'll go for data in raw data. Now we'll want to append it. So for data frame rows dot append, and then we'll have so we can kind of pick and choose. So we'll probably want the dates filed. Date filed. We'll probably want the fiscal year. Right, and the data stuff I'm getting from filed will be here. You see it here. And then I'll have like FY, so that's fiscal year. That would produce 2010 for the first entry. Now we'll want the form type, data form, right, because we'll want to cut off some amendments. We'll definitely want the value, of course. Assets, I mean, look, it doesn't even need to be this. So I guess we could just have like FS, and then we can put in item name. Instead, we could have an item name here. So what this is going to do instead is we'll be able to tell it what asset we want. So we'll just say, okay, we want assets. Get FS. What financial statement data we want. Instead of calling it assets, let's just call it item name. Data val. And I think that's it. We shouldn't need anything else. I mean, yeah, if you wanted other stuff, there is other stuff to look at, but it's not major. Let's create the data frame, pandas data frame rows, and we're going to want to cleanse the data frame also. So we'll basically have a data equals data frame, and then we're going to want to cut off some of this data frame. I guess just do like this, cut off some of this data frame. In terms of type, right? Type, and then string containing, ends with, or I mean, we could do string contains. I mean, if it has a, you should just get kicked off. We don't need you. Sort values, and then we're going to want to sort it by filed. And then there's another function that I've also used, which is drop duplicates, which is pretty useful. Based on filed. That should work, I hope. So we can have it print the data frame here. Microsoft assets. We should get a list, hopefully. If we don't get a list, this is problematic. I've cut off the wrong thing. I'm sure you saw that and you noticed my error when I did it. That will fix it. It won't fix it. Data frame. Oh, we didn't give the type yet. Oh, I named it form. And then I think also this drop duplicates will need keep. We also need to identify like what we'll keep. Most recent. Okay. That looks correct. We're also including 8Ks. We don't want an 8K. I mean, yeah. You know, this 8K is kind of messing up with your data. I guess we could, you know, on the fly create some kind of fix for this. If the type type is not equal to or 10Q, pass, else yeah, I guess this will actually have to exist here too. Yeah, I hate when it does that. Mostly because Java didn't do that. I don't like. Okay, that should work. Oh, it's because I don't even have a data frame. If data. Form. There we go. That will fix it. Hopefully. If data form. Okay. Maybe this will work. Data form. Yeah. Okay, so why is my 10K still there? Or what? Sorry, why is my 8K still there? That's super weird. I won't debug that in this video. Data form equals 10K or 10Q. I don't know why that's been included. That's super weird. Anyways, let's have a look. Now we have set this up. Print, I guess we'll just have return data frame at the moment. And then we'll just print this for assets. So now if we go to Microsoft's financial statements, Microsoft 10K XBRL, this, I mean, this will give us a random date. Okay, for the period, okay, that's kind of annoying. Let's just use this. Yep, so have assets. I mean, we can also divide it. Let's make the values a little less. We can try this. This should work. Let's bring it down. I mean, to the millions. That should fix it. Make it a little bit more readable. Okay, now that's in the millions. That's a lot of assets. Now what even is this? This is not Edgar. That's the 10. That is the 10K. I don't know why that says it's an Edgar or an XBRL. That won't give me an XBRL. Okay, I mean, I guess I can just make the rows. Look here. I'm pretty sure you can just make the rows, but I don't know exactly. Okay. I think I can do this also. Pandas dot set option display max rows none. Yes. Okay. That should fix it. Now I should be able to pick any random one. So when would this have been filed? That's 2023. This would have been filed to what then? No. This would have been filed in... Do they... Okay, 25. Yes, okay, it would have been this. So it should be 411. Go to current assets, you go to total current assets. And total assets. 470 558 41. I mean, what have we done for it? We said it was assets. Huh, that's super weird. Wait. 411976. These should be changing, but they're not. Let's see, what about the cash? We can try cash instead. The AK's still there. 17305. Okay, it did pull the cash. If anything, this video, it's interesting, like pulling this data from the SEC's website and, consequently directly from the financial report. But the big issue is that, things continuously change. Like, I was working in this company called Borealis Foods, and I'll kind of show really quickly what the problem with Borealis Foods was. If you go and look at cash, all right, so in their XBRL, they named cash, it's in the millions still. They named cash, which is good. Borealis Foods, 10K, okay. That should fix it. So you can see they've been naming, so I'll prove that this actually has worked. So if you go to the current assets, It's 652,965. That's the same. So it's pulled that data. That data has been pulled correctly. But Borealis Foods has existed before 2023. And the reason it doesn't know that is if you go all the way back, 2022, let's say quarterly report, this will have here. They're not calling it cash, so you can actually look at the difference. Here, they call it cash, so more recently they've started calling it cash. Here, they call it cash and cash equivalent to carrying value. They're fundamentally the same thing, right? If you look at the financial statement, cash, cash. But the XBRL, the tags are different. So I'll show you, if you actually just copy this tag, you look here, you click, you're now going to get data from before 2023. Alright, so we can actually, let's just print both of them. So we can do print stock.getFS, cash, we could do this also. This is going to be after 2023, right? That should be working. Okay. Print, this is going to be before 2023. Yeah, so before 2023, they're using this tag for cash. Now, I'm going to predict it, shockingly. You'll see. Actually, let me just run this first. Just to show you, I mean, you could merge it, right? Like, you can merge it, you'll see. This is going to be before 2023. This is going to be after 2023. It successfully predicted it. It's not shocking, right? It's not, it's also messed up the titles, I guess. It's not this crazy surprise. The reason it's happening is the tags are all messed up. And this is why what I've just done means that this XBRL data cannot be scaled reasonably. Like, you could go through each financial statement and kind of do your own little tagging and say, okay, this is cash and carrying amounts. This is just cash, and kind of try and reconcile it. It's definitely possible. It would be extremely hard to do. And it's the reason why Bloomberg data costs so much, or Morningstar data costs so much, is that they've done the dirty work of standardizing this data for you. And standardizing it yourself is basically impossible. So any kind of machine learning hopes are killed using this kind of method. You'll probably need to pay for data. One alternative is you kind of scrape Yahoo Finance, which is free, I believe. But scraping data from mass data collection is also really bad. In terms of time, in terms of Yahoo Finance will probably kick you off after 2,000 requests. So if you want any meaningful data for machine learning, most machine learning applications that use financial statement data are over 100,000 data points. So, if you're scraping that, and this is already scraped data is usually poor. So if you're scraping that data, the data quality is pretty bad. And it might take you days just to get the data, more weeks, considering that Yahoo Finance has so many rate limits. So why to make this video? It's interesting. I mean, it's fun to be able to pull this data directly from financial statements. It's an interesting thought experiment on how can I do it with code. And going through all these different steps, but ultimately it doesn't have much use. Thanks for watching. Bye.